Report with Trevor Ombija.
Good evening. You're just in time for the Monday Report live from county number 34, the county of Kajiado. My name is Trevor Ombija and welcome to the program. This is our second part of the series Sauti ya Mwananchi. We have an audience of 300 strong. Sovereignty belongs to the people. We are asking them the question, are they getting value for their money? Are their taxes being utilized in the right way? That is a conversation we're having. We'd like to hear from them. What is working, what is not working, and what do they recommend? And apart from the 300 strong in the crowd, we also have a panelist here, Dr. Boniface Makoha, who's the PS State Department for Economic Planning from Treasury. Also, His Excellency Martin Moshisho, the Deputy Governor for Kajiado County, will be joining us. And Charles Owino, head of the National Communications Center, will also be here, as well as George Yogo, is a corporate trainer, leadership and political advisor. We're live at the Beacon of Hope here in Kajiado County, where we're asking the Mwananchi, live from them, are they getting value for their money? That conversation coming up in just a bit. Also joining me later on is Emmanuel Ndungu, or Emmanuel ND, with the sporting action in the studio. But first, before we get into that in just a bit, our top stories tonight.
I went into some roads within Karen, and I realized that since I was being followed, I'd already reported to the police. I abandoned the vehicle there.
The Honorable Rafael Tuju was physically present within his residence throughout the period in question.
Home or away? Rafael Tuju and DCI boss Amin Mohammed give conflicting accounts as the former cabinet secretary resurfaces at his home 2 days after disappearance. We have no case. Director of Public Prosecutions withdraws controversial charges against 3 directors of the Nairobi hospital.
Na hiyo kikundi inaitwa useless opposition. Sijui alternative nothing. Hawana agenda, hawana mpango, hawana maono.
Keeping it low and dirty. President Ruto renews attacks on opposition leaders, calling them useless and fools. Tragedy in Makueni. 2 children killed in mudslides in Kilungu as heavy rains continue in parts of the country. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Wilson Ochuka. Now tonight we begin with the drama surrounding the disappearance of former cabinet minister Rafael Tuju. The former minister has resurfaced after his reported disappearance, which sparked fears that he may have been abducted. Tuju says that he went into hiding after being followed by unmarked vehicles seeking shelter with a family in Kiambu County when he realized that he was being trailed. Stephen Leto reports on a day filled with drama that ultimately led to the arrest of the former cabinet minister.
Few minutes before 2 p.m. on Monday, former Cabinet Secretary Rafael Tuju emerged from his current residence, accompanied by a group of opposition leaders led by Wiper Party boss Kalonzo Musyoka. Facing a swarm of eager reporters, Tuju immediately began setting the record straight.
Unfortunately, on Saturday evening, I was supposed to be going for an interview at Ramogi Radio. I'd made a commitment to go there. Then again, the same vehicle, a Land Cruiser, and this time a little bit more concerning. The vehicle didn't have plate numbers, and by the time I reached Karen roundabout, they really closed in. And now they're definitely making sure that back to back with me. So fortunately, I know Karen well. I branched into Nandi Road.
The former cabinet secretary said he went into hiding after realizing he was being followed on Saturday. He revealed that he had informed the police about a Land Cruiser without a number plate that was trailing him before escaping to safety. Tuju claims he took shelter with a family in Kiambu County who had been hosting him until last night when he finally returned to his home.
I want to thank Kenyans, but I also especially want to thank a family in Kiambu, the boundary between here and Kiambu, that were able to give me shelter. They didn't care what my tribe is. They just saw me as a human being. until yesterday past midnight when I was able to come here. My family is very traumatized.
I have absolutely no reason not to believe what he has just said. And the truth of the matter is there's an abduction squad in town.
I'm traumatized. I don't want to discuss about what happened, but it's a very, very bad state that we are in.
As Tuju spoke about his return home, a contingent of police officers took position at his main gate, moving to arrest him.
Oh, you want to arrest him? Is he under arrest? For what reason? Just tell us the reason. We are the lawyers.
We are senior people.
Tell us the reason. No, tell us the reason why you want him. Pronounce yourself.
Unless you are arrested.
Whether our client is under arrest, then we're able to respond to the situation.
Yes.
Okay. But you cannot tell us that he's
we hand him over to you.
Yeah, you cannot tell us that he's going to get into
Now. He's under arrest.
For what reason?
Okay.
What reason? Why is he under arrest?
The drama unfolded as Tuju boarded Wiper Party boss Kalonzo Musyoka's vehicle, escorted by a contingent of police officers to Karen police station. More drama erupted at the station when police officers dragged Tuju into the OB section, only allowing his lawyers access to the station.
They have brought him to Karen police station and they have refused to book him in an OB. They have forced him in a Subaru. They're actually breaking his back.
At the station, Tuju claimed he was mishandled during the melee, sustaining injuries, prompting a quick response from a medical team from Karen Hospital. The former CS is currently involved in a legal battle over the ownership of Dairy Business Park in Karen, linked to a bank of a 1.9 billion shillings loan borrowed from East African Development Bank. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
Well, the Director of Criminal Investigations, Mohamed Amin, has tonight dismissed claims that former Cabinet Secretary Rafael Tuju was abducted. Speaking moments after Tuju resurfaced, DCI boss claimed that Tuju was hiding in his house the entire time. DCI boss says that the missing persons report filed by his family at the Karen police station was misleading. Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen has warned that the law will not be kind to politicians creating false alarm over their whereabouts to seek public sympathy. Safin Achieng Ouma has the details.
Just moments after former Cabinet Secretary Rafael Tuju resurfaced, DCI boss Mohamed Amin came out to set the record straight. At the DCI headquarters along Kiambu Road, Amin claimed that the police were denied access to Tuju's home by his family moments after the same family reported his disappearance at the Karen police station.
Following the family's initial denial of access to Mr. Tuju's residence along Mitu Drive, the National Police Service escalated the matter with utmost urgency and utmost resolve. A combined operational team comprising of uniformed police officers and experienced plainclothes detectives was immediately deployed to secure the location, and in particular, the residence of Honorable Rafael Tuju.
DCI Amin revealing that they had solid intelligence that Tuju was physically present in his residence in Karen.
Even at the precise time, his mobile phone was switched off at 18:18 hours on 21st of March 2026. He was at his Karen residence.
And when he was cornered,
Mr. Tuju chose to resurface, confirming thereby the investigators' earlier well-founded suspicion that this was a carefully staged disappearance rather than a genuine case of abduction.
Speaking separately, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen laughed off Tuju's alleged disappearance, terming it a sympathy stunt.
Jana nikiwa ndege nimetoka London, ninaambiwa ati Tuju amepotea. Nikasema ati nikaambia DCI amepotea. DCI akaniambia familia yake wanasema amepotea, lakini uchunguzi wa serikali ako kwa nyumba yake analala. So unajua hata serikali inajua uko wapi, si ndio? Umelala wapi, saa ngapi na nani na hiyo mambo yote. So akaniambia waziri, usiwe na wasiwasi. Huyo mtu alizima simu, na mara ya mwisho kuzima simu yake amesima kwa nyumba yake na ni bedroom.
CS Murkomen warning of tough action against politicians fond of creating false alarm over their whereabouts.
And this repetitive theatrics must come to a stop. And I want to ask the judiciary to become very vigilant. If we bring people who are abducting themselves before the court of law, you must take the severest action against them.
This deliberate conduct by Rafael Tuju appears to be a calculated effort to deceive the public, to generate unwarranted sympathy, and to undermine the integrity of the National Police Service, and for that matter, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, for apparent political or personal motives.
Safina Chengoma, Citizen TV.
And away from that, a court in Nairobi has allowed the Director of Public Prosecutions to withdraw charges against 3 directors of Nairobi Hospital who were arraigned in court on Monday. The 3, including Chairman Bakle Mogere Onyambu, were set to face charges of failing to lodge financial statements with the Registrar of Companies before the prosecutors made the application. Enraged defense lawyers accused the prosecution of abusing the court process, even as one other member of the Kenya Hospital Association, which owns and manages Nairobi Hospital, Ricardo Nyantika, was released by the police. Seth Olale followed the proceedings.
3 directors of Nairobi Hospital, board chairman Bakle Mogere Onambu, Magdalene Koki Mudhoka, and John Miro Mwero, surrendered themselves at the Milimani Law Courts Monday morning. The trio among directors at the facility being investigated of alleged failure to lodge financial statements with the Registrar of Companies. The 3 were accompanied by the Defense Counsel, led by Senior Counsel James Orengo, Law Society of Kenya President Charles Kanjama, Embakasi East MP Babu Owino, and Harun Dubi, among other lawyers. After waiting for more than 3 hours, a charge sheet indicating that Bakle Mogere Onambu, Magdalene Koki Mudhoka, and John Emiro Mwero were implicated for failing to lodge financial statements with the Registrar of Companies, circulated within the court precincts. However, the case did not commence, prompting the defense lawyers to seek the court's intervention. 2 hours later, state prosecutors formally arraigned the accused, but in a dramatic twist of events, applied to withdraw charges against the 3 accused.
The qualification to withdraw all the charges against the intended accused persons.
A move strongly opposed by the defense counsel.
They say they want to withdraw the charge under Section 87A. Without giving reasons to pursue the court.
We want to formally and strongly urge the court to enforce and safeguard the Constitution.
It's on the grounds of, for withdrawal, it's on the ground of review. I will therefore allow the application to have this matter withdrawn under Section 87A of the CPC.
Additionally, the defense sought clarification from the court as to whether Nairobi Hospital's patron, President William Ruto, is obligated to run the affairs of the facility.
And I've not seen anywhere where a company should have a patron. And a patron was heard going down this country saying that he has arrested, persecuted,
Even as supremacy battle pitting the head of state and a section of directors over the management of the Nairobi hospital continues, both in the boardroom and along the corridors of justice, another matter implicating 4 directors is set to be heard on 31st here at the Milimani Law Courts. Seth Olale, Citizen TV, Nairobi County.
Let's talk about politics now. In an apparent escalation of low-road political discourse, President William Ruto today fired a fresh barrage of insults on opposition leaders, calling them foolish and useless, and referring to a male opposition leader as an aspirant for the position of the county woman representative. Speaking at the campaign rallies in Migori and Homa Bay counties today, President Ruto also accused his former deputy Rigathi Gachagua of murdering a blogger, asking the former DP to apologize to the family of the slain blogger. As Emmanuel To now reports, the president maintains that he will not back down on attacks, saying that the opposition started it.
He picked up from where he left over the weekend, sustaining his verbal onslaught with a fresh barrage of insults against the united opposition leaders.
Mukiona ule Kajieta na ule mwingine ako na kichwa kubwa, tumbo hata sijui nini, na ule mwingine sijui anataka kurani kiti ya women rep sijui ama ni gani. Mimi nauliza nyinyi, hawa watu ni wa kushindana na sisi hawa? Na hiyo kikundi inaitwa useless opposition, sijui alternative nothing. Hawana agenda, hawana mpango.
The president then trained his guns on his former deputy, Rigathi Gachagua.
Kwenda rudisha kwanza mali ya ndugu yako, warudishie wajane na warudishie mayatima. Wewe kwanza uwaulize, uombe msamaha wale wasichana uliwaua, uende utafute familia zao kabla hujakuja kutuongelesha kama Kenya. Kiongozi yeyote katika Kenya hii ambaye lugha yake bado ni nyinyi Wajaluo, nyinyi wa Kalenjin, nyinyi wa Kikuyu, nyinyi sijui wa Kuria, nyinyi sijui, huyo ni kiongozi kumbafu. Huyo ni kumbavu ya mwisho.
The president's latest torrent comes days after the clergy called for a ceasefire, terming the president's sentiments as unpresidential and oppositions as uncouth and unbecoming. President Ruto is, however, sticking to his guns.
Na mimi sitarudi nyuma. Hawa watu wa makelele na chuki na sijui ukabila na nini, hawa nitawamalizia asubuhi, haiwezi kufika breakfast, nitamalizana na hawa. Nyanza hoye!
The head of state is currently on a tour of the Nyanza stronghold of his broad-based government allies, with ODM leaders talking up the anticipated pre-election pact with the president's UDA party.
Sisi hatuwezi kaa bila nini? Tunataka nini? Hatuwezi kaa bila nini? Kwa hivyo tunasemaje?
Wakati unapanga Kenya inaendelea kule Singapore, hatutaki kubaki nyuma. Si nyinyi hamtaki mwachwe nyuma? Sisi zote tunaenda na rais hadi 2032.
Saa ile tutarudisha William Ruto kama rais bara ya pili. Ndio atajua ya kwamba kumbe kura ya hapa Wajaluo na kura ya Wakuria inahesabika. At the count of 3, 2, 1.
President Ruto's campaign tour has also seen him launch development projects in the region.
Hiyo barabara mrefu kilomita 500 mwaka huu mwezi wa 10 tunakuja kuanzisha ujenzi wake, because we want to develop the Lake Victoria Ring Road in the interest of the economy of the people of this region. Ati mnasemaje?
Emmanuel To, Citizen TV.
Well, DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua has called on the country's youthful populace to register in their numbers as voters in readiness for the 2027 general election. Gachagua, who led a public engagement in Kabete, that's in Kiambu County, at the same time accused the head of state of masterminding the disruption of opposition meetings in central Kenya, alleging that President Ruto was bent on dividing the region ahead of the 2027 polls. Kamau Mwangi has more.
After a whole day's tension following reports that there were plans to disrupt his public engagement in Kabete constituency, DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua eventually made his way to Wangige.
Thank you.
It is here that he accused his former boss, President William Ruto, of using his allies in central Kenya to organize and execute the disruption of opposition meetings.
Wewe Kimani Ichung'wah, mbona mnatumiwa na Ruto kupiganisha Wakikuyu, alafu Ruto anatuchekelea? Mimi naomba vijana wetu wa Kikuyu, msikubali kutumika kupiga Mkikuyu mwenzako. Sisi ni kitu kimoja kama jamii.
Gachagua, accompanied by his allies, rallied the country's youth to register in their numbers as voters in the ongoing Nikokadi campaign, challenging them that this was the only way they could punish Ruto for allegedly violating their rights in the 2024 and 2025 Gen Z protests.
Tuko rada, Gen Z mpo. Nikisema Gen Z, mnasema tuko kadi. Gen Z, Gen Z, Gen Z. Wacha nione wale wako kadi.
Tutahakikisha ya kwamba serikali inayokuja hakuna kijana atauawa. Tutahakikisha ya kwamba serikali ambayo inakuja itakuwa ya usawa. Na nyinyi vijana, munisikize vizuri. Kwa sisi kushinda hii safari, lazima mukate kura.
Watu wa Kabete mkienda kwa uchaguzi, mukute ni Kalonzo Musyoka na Kasongo, mutachagua nani? Ati mutachagua nani? Na mkienda mukute ni Wamalwa na Kasongo, mutachagua nani?
Masaini yote wamesema ni one term. One term kwa sababu tunataka kurudisha madharau iende Sugoi. One term kwa sababu tumechukia mambo ya watu kupigwa risasi miguu.
The former DP at the same time fronted his DCP party as the best outfit to provide solutions to challenges currently bedeviling the country. Kama Mwangi, Citizen TV.
And now to the flooding situation across the country. The death toll from the ongoing rains has risen to 85 after 2 children were killed in a mudslide in Kitende village in Kilungu sub-county, that's in Makueni County. Meanwhile, residents of Elgon View Estate in Uasin Gishu County are counting losses after flood waters from River Sosiani spilled into their homes. Environment Cabinet Secretary Deborah Baraza has warned those living in flood-prone areas to relocate immediately as the heavy rains continue. The government has also issued a warning this evening after River Nyando burst its banks at Ahero Bridge along the Kericho Awasi Kisumu Road. Water from the rivers overflowed onto the road with the levels continuing to rise, posing serious risks to motorists and other road users. Safin Achieng Ouma brings us the latest update.
This is the trail of destruction left behind by heavy rains that pounded Kitende village in Kilungu sub-county, Makueni County on Sunday night. The downpour turned deadly, leaving a family in mourning after 2 children were killed when their house collapsed. Their mother narrowly escaped.
Tukasikia a very big bang impact. Ndio tukashtuka tukatoka kwa vitanda. Saa hiyo maji imeingia kwa nyumba kabisa, na imepunja dirisha na imeingia kwa nyumba.
Tumeanza kuweka mikakati na tayari tumeiweka ya kuhamisha watu kutoka hizi area ambazo ziko steep sana na zinazoweza kuathirika na maporomoko.
And in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, residents of Elgon View Estate are counting heavy losses after flood waters from the nearby River Sosiani burst its banks and swept into their homes.
But so far, hatujakuwa na maafa, hatujakuwa na injuries za binadamu, but property maji imeingia, iko damages ambazo zitajitokeza, na maybe baadaye tutaweza kukagua na kusema ni kiasi gani.
In Narok County, heavy rains have swollen River Mara, which burst its banks, disrupting tourism activities and transport in the area.
Ukipatwa na mafuriko ama mto imejaa, kaa kando kwanza maji ipite, ndio baadaye uondoke. Kwa sana wale wenye kuendesha magari ya watalii. Hiyo inafanya watu wanaonekana nchi yetu si salama.
Speaking in Nakuru County during an event to mark World Meteorological Day, Environment Cabinet Secretary Deborah Barasa warned those living in riparian and flood-prone areas to relocate.
We call upon our communities that are in the flood-prone or even in the riparian areas to move away from that, and we request that county government works together with national government, with the disaster preparedness and readiness team to ensure that people are safe.
Meanwhile, the Nairobi County government has begun plans to rehabilitate the Nairobi Dam as part of efforts aimed at mitigating the impact of flooding in the city.
When there's obstruction and it backs up, the pressure goes up. As you can see, we've had a breach of the walls on this side, on both the auxiliary and the main spillway. So that is the first thing. And there'll be public participation tomorrow down in Nairobi West, and on Wednesday in this ward of High Rise at Canaan.
The government has this evening notified the public that River Nyando has burst its banks at Ahero Bridge along the Kericho Awasi Kisumu Road. The river has overflowed on the roadway, with water levels continuing to rise and posing significant risk to motorists. Accordingly, in line with an advisory from the traffic commandant of Nyanza region, all motorists and other road users along this route are advised to use alternative routes. Traffic to and from Kisumu is hereby directed to divert at Timboroa through Lesos to Kapsabet, Chavakali, Kisumu until the situation stabilizes. Safina Chingoma, Citizen TV.
And away from that, the High Court has ordered that the status quo be maintained in the ongoing Safaricom share sale, effectively temporarily halting the process until further notice. High Court Judge Lawrence Mugambi has also transferred the matter to the Chief Justice for the empanelment of a 3-judge bench. The directive means that the 15% stake cannot be sold to Vodacom until legal issues are all resolved. Now, the move comes after petitioners raised concerns that the proposed sale could jeopardize sovereign assets. Justice Mugambi ruled that the petition raises significant constitutional issues and matters of public interest, including intergenerational equity on strategic state assets. Meanwhile, a court in Kericho has granted the police 30 days to detain 2 suspects linked to the mysterious mass graves at Makaburini in Kericho County. Principal Magistrate SM Nyaga allowed investigators to hold David Araka Makori and Richard Towet until April 23, 2026, when they are expected back in court. The court also issued orders permitting the exhumation of bodies allegedly buried on March 20, 2026 at Makaburini Cemetery. Meanwhile, Anglican Church of Kenya Kericho Diocese Bishop Ernest Ngeno has distanced the church from claims of ownership of the cemetery land.
As ACK Church, we don't own that property and we have no interest in that facility, and hivyo basi hatuna jambo lolote linalotuhusishwa katika mambo haya yote. I would only ask my governor to get his facts right before making any communication.
There is a possibility that other mass graves were dug and people were buried within those mass graves. So we are asking the DCI to expand their investigations to cover the entire cemetery so that we don't leave any stone unturned.
All right, on that note, we're taking a quick break here on the Monday Report live at the Beacon of Hope in Kajiado County, number 34. We're continuing with our series of Sauti ya Mwananchi, where we're asking the citizens, are they getting value for their money? What is working, what is not working, what do they recommend? That conversation, we're having them in just a short while. I have an audience of 300 strong and a panel of 4. But we'll mostly listen to the people in the audience because this is sovereignty belongs to the people. Sauti ya Mwananchi. So we ask them, Are they getting value for their money? But in the panel, Dr. Boniface Magoha will be joining us. He's a PS for State Department for Economic Planning at the Treasury. His Excellency Martin Moshisho is the Deputy Governor for Kajiado County. Will be joining us as well. Charles Owino is the head of the National Communications Center. And George Yogo, a corporate trainer, leadership and political advisor. We'll speak to them and find out from them as well, are citizens getting value for their money? That coming up in just a short while. But for now, let's take a quick break. We're back with much more in just a short while from County number 34, Kajiado County.
Sunlight 2-in-1 for burst after burst of long-lasting freshness. Sunlight 2-in-1.
Mount Kenya.
Opportunity police officers to carry out operations. You have my personal assurance and the assurance of His Excellency the President. This problem will be sorted with finality.
A criminal is a criminal. Whether ametoka Meru, whether ametoka Isiolo, whether ametoka Samburu East, whether ametoka area Laikipia, criminal is a criminal and the criminal must be dealt with as such.
Now, Kenya is losing up to 4 newborns every hour, translating to about 92 deaths each day. Latest statistics indicate that more than 66% of these deaths occur among children under the age of 5, many linked to systemic failures across the continuum of care, from home settings to health facilities. Medical experts attending the International Maternal, Newborn and Child Health Conference here in Nairobi, that's not here, in Nairobi, this is Kajiado, say a majority of these deaths are preventable, calling for strengthened systems at every level of care. Emily Chebet has more.
A shocking reveal of thousands of babies dying every single year in the country, a crisis that continues to unfold quietly despite efforts to improve maternal and child health. Every hour, Kenya loses an up to 4 newborns, translating to about 92 deaths every day, meaning the country loses over 30,000 babies annually.
27 counties are in the red. That means their newborn mortality rate is more than 22. There's 19 counties in the yellow, meaning their newborn mortality rate is at between 13 and 21. And there are only 2 counties in the green, meaning the goal we are aiming for less than 12, only 2 counties have achieved.
Health experts say many of these deaths are preventable, but persistent gaps continue to stand in the way. From delays in seeking care at home to challenges in reaching health facilities and even breakdowns within hospitals themselves.
Long travel time to the CMONG facilities in the remote areas, hence newborn tend to lose their lives when this happens. As a country, we are not yet at a number where we are comfortable to say we have enough newborn units at sub-county level. We have the workforce crisis. We don't have enough neonatal nurses. We don't have enough medical officers. We don't have enough pediatricians. And this actually will impact on the quality of care of the newborn.
Trained quite a number of nurses, midwives, doctors, gynecologists, but we are not able to absorb all of them into the health system. We need to set up funds to be able to, first of all, make sure that we absorb these healthcare resources. But as they are also treating, we need to continuously improve their education. So we know if you do not reskill yourself so often, there's knowledge decay.
At the International Maternal, Newborn and Child Health Conference in Nairobi, specialists are raising concern of unreliable access to critical care due to limited diagnostic capacity, frequent stockouts of life-saving commodities, and facilities that are facing unreliable access to electricity and water, resources essential for safe deliveries and emergency care.
Yet even as we celebrate progress, we must confront reality with honesty and urgency. Maternal mortality remains unacceptably high. Newborn deaths and stillbirths have persisted. This is not only Kenya's challenge, but a shared global challenge, particularly across the low and middle income countries.
The Ramcar investment case has shown us that if we fully implement what is already before us, Kenya can prevent more than 45,000 deaths by 2030. Think about that for a moment. 45,000 mothers, babies, and children.
According to the latest report, there is a large financial gap of up to 19 billion Kenya shillings to meet the Kenya maternal and newborn health targets by 2030. This gap is driven by inadequate domestic allocation and shrinking external support. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, the suspected mastermind behind the acid attack on Mary Claire has been arraigned in Nairobi court following his arrest yesterday. New details have now emerged indicating that the suspect, Elvis Opio, had previously been reported for allegedly injuring Claire, accusations he denied in court. Opio will remain in custody for 5 days as detectives finalize investigations into the attempted murder that occurred along Ngong Road near Prestige Plaza on Tuesday, March 17th. CCTV footage obtained by Citizen TV places the suspect at the scene of the attack.
Citizen TV aired Mary Claire's story. The suspected mastermind was finally arrested and appeared before the Kibera Law Courts, where he faced 2 charges. The first charge relates to an incident on November 25th, 2025, when Claire was allegedly assaulted and later filed a police report. However, the suspect was neither arrested nor investigated at the time.
At the time he was arrested, he alleged that he was sent to do the heinous act by a person known to him. And at the time he was being arrested, he confessed to the public that he was sent by someone known to him. And at that time, he received a call, which was heard from someone who was asking him if he has done with the operation he was sent to do.
The second charges relate to attempted murder. Detectives had sought 7 days to complete investigations, but the court granted them 5 days.
The respondent is granted bond terms only of Kenya shillings 1 million with a surety of similar amount. Should he fail to procure the said bond terms, I will allow the respondent to be held at the Kibera police station for 5 days for the investigations to be completed.
Investigators sought more time to analyze the suspect's phone records from the day of the incident in a bid to triangulate whether Elvis had communicated with Claire before the attack and whether he was in contact. The man alleged to have poured acid on Claire on March 17th, 2026. Citizen TV has established that minutes after Claire was attacked, Elvis appeared at the same facility where she had been rushed for first aid. At 4:04 p.m., Claire is seen entering Equity Afya Hospital along Ngong Road. About an hour later, Elvis is captured on CCTV entering the facility before leaving shortly after. As Claire is wheeled in, his presence at the hospital has raised suspicions among investigators that he may have had prior knowledge of the attack. As Claire and Sarah Watiri continue to receive treatment at Kenyatta National Hospital, another prime suspect, Lucas Ochieng, will remain in custody for 10 more days as investigations continue. Meanwhile, 2 families in Mombasa County are demanding justice after their loved ones were killed under mysterious circumstances. Elizabeth Nina was found murdered, her body dumped inside an unfinished house in Likoni. Relatives say she had informed them she was heading to visit a friend shortly before disappearing. In another disturbing incident, the family of Gloria Kaiser, a grade 5 pupil, alleges that she was raped and later killed in Kisauni. They accuse authorities of dragging their feet in both the investigations and the arrest of the suspect. Ode Francis, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Kenya to double its exports to China as Kenya flags off first consignment of duty-free exports.
Market duty-free, a move the government says could see exports more than double by the end of the year. Jimmy Mbogo witnessed the first consignment of goods leaving for China earlier on today and filed this report.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. As the bilateral trade agreement between Kenya and China takes shape, the departure of the first consignment of goods destined for China is set to mark a turning point in Kenya's economic diplomacy nearly a year after the agreement was signed in April 2025. The government says this will unlock opportunities for farmers, miners and exporters, while at the same time turning the tide of trade imbalance between the two nations. The first consignment is expected to introduce the Chinese market to Kenyan products such as tea, coffee, avocado, macadamia, flowers and minerals.
Under that agreement, Kenyan products are going to access Chinese markets without duty. And we are very, very, very excited at the opportunity that lies ahead to enable Kenya's coffee, tea, avocados, nuts, fruits, vegetables, minerals, and all other products from this land of Kenya to access Chinese markets.
What we are selling now is about $4 million. The gap is very big because China is selling to us almost 1 trillion more. So I suspect that the demand for our products, because the awareness will have to grow also among Chinese importers. So I suspect that
the deal builds on years of economic cooperation between Nairobi and Beijing, underpinned by major infrastructure investment. It is expected to catalyze investment into agro-processing, logistics and export-oriented industries in the country.
The strategic advantage is heavily dependent on the robust transport for our country network, which serves as the backbone of the modern economy, efficient transport, system to enable movement of millions of people, goods across various destinations.
One of the issues that has concerned me very much is, yes, people are supporting us to build infrastructure, but then sometimes after they have built infrastructure, they don't allow you to sell in their market. So the infrastructure ends up bringing more of their goods than taking out our goods. So for me, this is a good move from the...
With the flagging off of the first duty-free consignment to China, the Kenyan government is now banking on this agreement to be able to bring down the trade deficit between Kenya and China, which currently stands at nearly $1 trillion shillings. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, at the SGR terminus in Syokimau.
Now, Kenya Airways says it is adequately cushioned against immediate fuel shortage, with reserves expected to last up to 50 days, even as the escalating Middle East conflict continues to rattle global aviation and energy markets. But the national carrier is cautioning that sustained tension could still translate into higher ticket prices as operational costs could rise. Here now is Jasmine Wamboi with the details of that report.
Kenya Airways maintains that its fuel stock levels remain stable for now, but flags significant exposure to ongoing global disruptions. Fuel remains one of the airline's biggest cost drivers, accounting for between 25% to 40% of its total operating expenses. That burden is being compounded by restricted airspace in parts of the Middle East and North Africa, forcing airlines to take longer, more expensive routes.
If we speak about the fuel prices, that's the main issue we're facing. The biggest issue is the fuel prices. Having the fuel, we will have the fuel, but for what cost? And what is the impact on passengers?
At the same time, the airline is witnessing a shift in travel patterns due to the conflict. Passenger numbers are now expected to outperform earlier projections, even during what is typically a low season, as travelers from Europe, the US and the Far East increasingly reroute to avoid the Gulf airspace.
This is a low season for us. This period is from January until June is a low season for us. And we see usually about 72% of the aircraft, which is usually full, and you have about 30% or 28% usually empty. Today we have on those routes, we exceeded the 90 and 95% of cabin factor. So we exceeded about 95% of the cabin factor in some routes. Some routes even we're almost 99%.
To cushion its bottom line, Kenya Airways is doubling down on cargo operations. Freight demand has remained resilient despite the volatility, with the airline now targeting an increase in cargo market share from 28 to 40% through capacity partnerships.
We buy the cargo space. So you have a freighter aircraft, I buy the whole cargo space from you. I take the whole cargo space to me, to Kenya Airways. You do the operating, you do all of this other costs, and you sell me the cargo. And I'm the one responsible to do the packing, handling, logistics, everything, and fill up your cargo, fill up this cargo for those flights, for those number of flights in the next few months.
The airline maintains that it cannot afford to scale down operations in response to rising costs, warning that any reduction in capacity would quickly see competitors take over its market share. Instead, it is pushing for operational and policy support, including improvements in infrastructure at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to address capacity constraints and inefficiencies. Jasmine Wamboi, Citizen TV.
All right, on that note, let's take a quick break here. Emmanuel Ndung will be back with the sporting action, and then I'll be at the Sauti ya Mwananchi Town Hall session in just a short while.
Welcome back to the program, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Ndungu. Let's get into the day's sports. Harambee Stars head coach Benny McCarthy says he'll conduct no more experiments as far as call-ups to the national team are concerned. McCarthy has unleashed a scathing attack on local coaches, demanding their players be included in the team. He said the last experiment ended in an 8-0 thrashing by Senegal, and those coaches did not take the blame for the bad results. McCarthy and his technical bench will now focus on players in Europe with Kenyan roots as they start building the squad for next year's Africa Cup of Nations. This is the model that was used by Comoros and Cape Verde, who have become big teams in African football. McCarthy has been visiting players with Kenyan roots across Europe to have conversations on how they will fit into his AFCON project. The coach says the players are willing to play for Kenya, but will need to sort the paperwork for a smooth transition. The Harambee Stars are in camp to prepare for the FIFA Series tournament in Rwanda, where they play Estonia in the opening match on the 27th of March.
We have a lot to look forward to, a lot of players that we went to see that's very eager. And I think for me that's the most important. Not there we go begging for players to come and play. Like, they're free will, they've got Kenyan mother or father, so they're eligible to play for Kenya because they have a parent that was born in this country. So they're very much Kenyan as every single one of you, whether they're born in another country.
Moving on, there will be 3 all-Premier League clashes in the round of 16 of the FKF Cup after the draw was conducted on Monday morning. Giant killers BB Bread have been handed another litmus test, this time paired against Kenya Premier League champions Police FC. Defending champions Nairobi United will face off against the stubborn Poster Rangers, as former champions Kakamega Homeboys will be at home against troubled Ulinzi Stars, and Tusker FC host the Kariobangi Sharks. Bandari have a difficult game as they travel to Embu to face off against in-form 3K FC. Moranga Seal will also be away to Mfalme FC, while KCB have a home fixture against Chabaiwa Lions. The only non-league side, Kuta Collection, hosts Shabana FC in Nairobi. On to cycling now. More than 60 cyclists braved the winds and climbs of Kajiado County in the 2026 edition of the Tour of Kajiado cycling race. The competition that started in Isinya town took the cyclists all the way to Ilbisil and back, covering a distance of 92 kilometers. In the elite men's category, Cornelius Kemboy was in a class of his own as he won in 2 hours, 23 minutes and 58 seconds, more than 7 minutes ahead of second place Malvin Awar. Samuel Onyanko finished third. In the women's elite race, Jamila Abdullah won after 3 hours and 4 minutes of racing, followed by Mary Musyoki, a further 10 minutes behind. Sifa Karuga won the under-23 men's category, while Nemuel Mariko emerged the best in the mountain bike category. The under-15 winners were Carlos Karanja for the boys and Imani Kenna for the girls.
I did my best. My bike broke down, so I had to use a gravel. That means I was slower, but I still pushed on and I became number 2.
This is my first time on this road. I didn't think it was this far, and the wind was so much. That's my only enemy. And the climbs, also good.
It's been not that difficult because I went for a breakaway alone. Nimeride peke yangu, all in and out with an average of 38 kph. Na nimefanya the 100 kilometers in 2 hours and 30 minutes. Yeah.
To finish off, Kenya darts players failed to take advantage of playing at home as Uganda stunned the continent to qualify for the prestigious PDC World Cup of Darts. The Ugandan duo of Patrick Ochieng and Juma Saij beat Team Malawi 8-3 to become the first country outside South Africa to qualify for the World Cup. Kenya's hopes were on Peter Chiuri and World Championship sensation David Munywa, but they were shocked by fellow Kenyans Newton Mutunga and Duncan Mwangi, who knocked them out of the competition. The two players from the Sirua Morans Darts Club went all the way to the semi-finals, where they were eliminated by the team from Malawi. Uganda will join South Africa at the PDC World Cup of Darts from the 11th to the 14th of June in Frankfurt, Germany. The Africa qualifiers in Nairobi attracted more than 40 teams from host Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania and Malawi.